Hello everyone, thank you for watching this video. My name is Gretchen Brown and thank you for subscribing to my channel. I haven't made a video in a while. It's been a couple months and just a lot of crazy things have happened, so I thought I would make another video, and so here I am. So I had to go to the ER a couple weeks ago. Actually, it's been a week and 2 days ago. And I kind of want to address a couple things. So this video is going to be mainly about how to deal with healthcare as a blind person and how challenging it can be. So over the past several months, I've been dealing with a lot of different doctors, and a lot of different healthcare companies, and so it's been an adventure. So I'll go into my most recent experience with the ER and the good parts, the bad parts, and then I'll explain how disabled people should work towards getting equal access in healthcare as patients. Excuse me. Alright, so a week and a half ago I was sitting on my porch, and it's concrete, and the way our porch is, so we have the steps that are coming off to the right, and there's like 3 of them, and then to the left there's like a big drop off. So like if you're walking and you don't hit the steps, you'll hit the drop off. The drop off's about probably 3 feet. So if you were to fall off that, you would smack your head into a bush, because there's a bush directly below our porch. But if you come down the steps, there's a sidewalk, and then you walk down the sidewalk, you can turn left or right, and you're on your way. I thought this was interesting when I moved to town because, I lived in the country before, so we never really had sidewalks. So it was very weird because, like, there's no driveway, it's just like the street, sidewalk, there you go. Okay, that's not important, but there it is. So I have a waist-worn leash that I wear around my waist. It's hands-free, and I was using it for Beacon because she needed time to just be a dog. She had been, it's been kind of a crazy couple months, and we needed time to just chill and relax. And it was a nice evening. Birds were chirping. It was really nice. The sun was out. It's starting to be spring, so like the sun is later. It sets later in the evening. Excuse me. So it's a nice night. We're sitting there. I was sitting on my porch steps because before that I was sitting on my porch, and then I went inside, grabbed something, came back out, sat on my porch steps. And it's a waist-worn leash. So imagine like a belt that goes on your waist, and then the leash part's connected to, the dog, like always. And you can disconnect yourself. All you gotta do is unhook the bolt snap on the leash, and it's just like a long leash. I normally use it sometimes to connect her to poles, or as a tie down of sorts. It's 7 feet long in length, but then you take away a couple feet because your waist, and then she has the remainder of that leash to wander around. Well, normally I connect to a pole, but sometimes I don't, because I just wanted to just relax. And, we're always together, except right now she's sleeping. We're always together, and I want her to have some free time, Free time that's supervised, because our yard doesn't have a fence or anything, so I wanted to have a little bit of free time. So, we're sitting on our porch steps, and all of a sudden, she goes from lying flat, straight down, to jumping up and running. And okay, so I've been losing a lot of weight, so I'm around 90 pounds right now. I used to be like 102, 103, but I've lost a lot of weight, so now I'm 90 pounds, and Beacon is 54 or so. So normally, technically, I outweigh her, but if she lunges, I'm done. So, it's happening so fast, I can't grab anything, so all of a sudden, I'm being drugged down the steps, on the sidewalk, through the grass. Luckily, she didn't go into the street, she just went in the yard. And as I'm being drugged, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm on the ground. And my sunglasses, I was wearing them because it's sunny, and I've been able to see a lot more light recently, I don't know why. And so all of a sudden, my sunglasses are being drugged off my nose, and I hear them under my body, like being drugged, like they're under my chest and under my stomach. And it was just a weird feeling, because I was like, I can't stop this, like what is happening? And all of a sudden, she stops, and I can't grab the leash because I'm being drugged, and I'm like, oh crap, so like, there's no stopping her. So my neighbors show up at my house and they say, "Hey, we saw Beacon dragging you. Are you all right?" And at the time, I was like, "Yeah, I'm totally fine. Let me just stand up." And okay, so my neighbors are really awesome people, but they're very like into Beacon a lot. So as they're trying to help me like get everything and help me move, because I was listening to a book on my phone as well, and so I threw my phone to the side when I was being drugged, but I couldn't grab the leash. Like I just had my phone in my hand, I just went to the side, and it landed on the steps. Surprised it didn't break. Um, okay, so anyway, my neighbors are really awesome people, but they're really kind of frustrating because they like Beacon, which is fine that they're people, but they're trying to help me, and they're going, "Hi, Beacon," they're trying to pet her and everything, and I'm like, guys, like, not the time, you know? I appreciate your help, but not the time. So then I go back inside my house. Okay, well, first off, they tell me that, let me back up. So they're helping me get up, and I'm trying to get Beacon under control because she's like jumping at them because, oh, they're friends. Hello, friends. What are you doing here? Pet me, you know? And they're saying, "Hi, Beacon, hi, Beacon." And I'm like, guys, like, let's just calm down. Let's focus on me for a second. And so, you know, I feel a little dazed and a little out of it. And so I ended up uh, breaking my nose because my sunglasses fell off my nose because my nose was scraping the ground. So you can't tell, but it's a little bit angled now. It used to be straight. Now it's like angled to the right. And apparently I did cut my forehead 2 different places, and I hit it on the concrete. That's a whole other story. But at the time I was bleeding. I was bleeding from my knees, my elbows, my arms, my forehead, 2 different parts of my forehead, and maybe other places. Other places that I didn't catch. My hands were a little bit bloody as well. And so they're like, "Hey, you're bleeding." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And they were like, "Yeah, you might need stitches, but we don't know." And I was like, "Okay, I'll just go inside and clean it up, no big deal." Well, as we're talking, this dog shows up. And they told me that there was this unleashed dog running around in my area, and they didn't know I was sitting on the porch because the way our porch is, you can't tell from the street if someone's sitting there, because our house kind of blocks it, so they couldn't see that I was sitting there, but they would have said something if they would have. Well, this dog's loose, running around the area, no leash, and, excuse me, it was a smaller dog, and apparently it went up to Beacon right in her face, and she went after it. Now, you know, I've had people argue with me for the past week and a half about how my dog should be trained better, and she's a guide dog, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, well, one, yes, she's a guide dog. Yes, she should know better, but she's a dog, and she wasn't in harness. She wasn't working. She was just lying down, relaxing. And this dog came right up in her face. And, you know, a lot of times if dogs are going to attack, they don't do it loudly. They come up silently. So maybe I should have been paying more attention. I was listening to a book, but I only listened to it with one headphone in, and also, I couldn't hear it. Like, it didn't have a collar on that would ring, like jingle, like Beacon's collar jingles because she has tags on it. It was just one of those, like, I don't know, like those cloth, nylon collars, whatever, probably. I don't know, I didn't feel it. And, so Beacon, you know, she's still a dog. She went after it a little bit. I don't know if the dog backed off first or what, but she stopped. I don't know if she stopped because I was going to get drugged in the street or if the dog ran away. But I was very annoyed because, one, like, control your dog, and seriously, like, now I'm bleeding all over the place, dripping blood and everything. And it really bothered me because people were complaining that my dog was the issue, and I was like, no. Like, if any dog or person or anything comes up into someone else's property and gets right up in your face, like, where I live out in the country, if someone did that, you would get shot. So, you know, don't do that. Not that I would shoot a dog, but, you know, if it's attacking me, all bets are off. You know, I wouldn't shoot it, obviously, but I would defend myself. Or try to. I'd probably fail, but, you know, I'd still try to. Anyway, so as we're talking and everything, the neighbors were trying to help me, because I didn't even know I was bleeding. They were like, "Hey, you're bleeding." And I'm like, "Oh, where?" And they had to show me. And so at the time, I was dripping blood, and I just casually, like, took my finger and just kind of wiped it away. Yeah, that was dumb because it still kept bleeding. Um, and they, the dog kept running back towards Beacon. Like it would run towards the street and then would come back towards us, run back towards us, run back towards us. And I was like, this dog, like what's wrong with this dog? Why does it keep doing that? That's stupid. And Beacon's like jumping at it because it's a dog. And I was getting annoyed. Um, and so then I was like, do you want me to go grab a leash? Like I'm sure I have an extra leash somewhere around here. Because I don't want this dog getting hit by a car. Because I mean, like I'm angry not at the dog, but at the owners for letting the dog run loose. But I'm really angry because I don't want this dog to get hurt. Like it's gonna get run over by a car. It's a tiny dog. So, but I'm about to go inside and grab a leash, and all of a sudden these people come and take the dog, and that's a whole another story. We still haven't found the owner. Um, but sighted people slash anyone with a dog, like it's not that hard. Control your dog, contain your dog, and if it runs away, figure out a way to catch it. Because, I mean, people get hurt. And, if Beacon would have been in harness, um, and she would have, drugged me like that, or even if she wouldn't have, even if the dog would have been in her face, and, I can't see, so I can't see what the dog's going to do. I don't know the dog's going to even come. Because, like if Beacon, if I take her collar off, and she's walking around, and her toenails are clipped, short enough, I can't hear her. I don't even know where she is. Um, because their paws don't really make much noise. They just kind of touch the ground very lightly. So, like, it's scary as a blind person to be walking by yourself. You don't know what's around. Well, you know what's around you, but you don't know like what's around you as far as dogs or whatever. And that's been one of my biggest fears as a guide dog handler is dogs that will attack. And Beacon and I have almost gotten attacked a couple of different times, and every single time we had to work on dog distractions again because Beacon is afraid of other dogs. And so, I know how to handle it. I figured it out. Um, but I just want to like punch the people that let their dogs run wild because it's not fair to those of us that actually have service dogs that we need to, have to worry about, oh crap, am I going to get attacked today? Oh, am I going to lose my $40,000 service dog because you decided to let your dog run free? We've had this a couple times on different trails that we would go, and like even on my campus at my college, people would let their dogs run. They were like, "Oh, they're not gonna do anything. They're friendly," and I'm like, I don't care. Like, if that leash is off, and you're not, you don't have any control over your dog, like it's gonna run away, it's gonna do whatever, then it needs a leash. It's not that hard. Now I do recognize that some people with service dogs don't have the ability to use a leash. That's fine, but they're supposed to maintain control at all times in other ways, like voice or hand signals, any other acceptable manner. And, it just bothers me that people can't do that. Okay, so off my soapbox, I apologize. But, okay, so back to the point of this video. Um, so, I'm sorry, I gotta make sure I'm looking. Okay. So we go, okay, so I'm like going inside to find the peroxide and everything, and because I thought it was just going to be like a little cut. I was going to wipe it out. Everything would be good. And so I was messaging my friend and I said, hey, guess what happened? And I was like telling her. And I was laughing at the time because at the time I thought it was a little cut. And also I think I was having a little bit of an issue right then mentally because I was like, that's great. I fell again. And last year around the same time um, Beacon was going to the bathroom and this dog, my neighbor's dog, came up and at my apartment complex that I was living in, he came up and he said he was gonna bring his dog towards me, and I was like, okay, it'll be fine. Well, I was kneeling on the ground, kind of like half standing, half not, and Beacon tried to jump at the dog to play with it because she was done pooping, and I did not end up. I ended up scraping my knees and stuff, but it wasn't bad. It was just painful. So I was laughing because it's been a year, and I was like, oh look, another year, and look, my knees are still the same thing. They're still scraped and swollen, and like ew. And so then my friend FaceTimes me, and she goes, hey, let's look at your head because there's blood like pouring. So I'm like taking washcloths, I'm like trying to wipe it out. Got water on there. I got trying to find the peroxide. I couldn't find it. Like blood's like dripping all over, and I'm like ew. And no one else is home. Like no one sighted is here. So my friend was like telling me, oh yeah, there's blood there. Make sure you wipe it up. Everything. And then I call my mom, And I said, hey, do you know where peroxide is? Because sometimes, she'll come over here and she'll move stuff, or my sister will, or whoever, sighted is here, they'll move stuff. And she was, why do you use it? And I was like, well, I got drug a little bit on the concrete, and my face is swollen, and it hurts, and there's blood. So I wanted to get the peroxide to clean it out. Well, so then my sister comes back, and my mom comes back, because they were together, and my mom goes, okay, we're going to the hospital, get in the car. So we go to the hospital. I don't know why I'm laughing, this is not funny, but it's funny the way, like, it was just like, oh no, let's go. So we're going, and I hate hospitals, because as a blind person, I'm always treated like I don't have competence, basically. So we go to the hospital and everything, and I'm like freaking out because I hate going to the hospital. And so we're in the line, and we're in the reception desk thing, and I explained to them how to sign something for me. I said, you write you write my name with your initials to show that I gave you permission to write my name for me. And, everything was all the same because I've been in this hospital before. And so we go and sit down, and then they call me up, and I go to the little examining room, and I explain what happened and everything. We get this lady come in, and she's all like, oh, your dog drug you. And I'm like, yeah, but here's why. And she goes, oh, okay. Like, the end. And I was like, oh, okay, like, that's not the end, but okay. So then they say, oh, well, you need to get stitches. But the nice part was they talked to me. They didn't talk to my mom, because my mom was there because, well, I don't always tell them everything that happens when I go to the doctor, and so she's like, I want to be back there, because, like, same rules apply. People treat me like a child if I don't speak up. So I was like, don't want my mom back there, but at the time I wasn't really able to explain that because I was having a little bit of head issues as well. So they decided I need stitches, and they're really chill about it. They explain what they're doing, and they start sewing me up, and they talk to me like a person and everything, and it worked out. But they didn't check my nose. My nose was broken. They didn't check that. I found out a couple days ago that it was broken. I went back for another appointment to get my stitches out. And they also failed to notice that I had a concussion. It's a mild concussion, but it did cause issues. I was very tired. I slept till noon the other day. I never sleep till noon ever in my life. I had a lot of headaches because I can't use my sunglasses because my nose hurts, like right on the bridge where my sunglasses would set. I can't wear hats because that's where the stitches were, but now it's where the scabs are. And I was having confusion, dizziness, and at the time, I think that's what the issue was, is I wasn't really able to focus on what was happening, so I thought everything was just, oh, everything's relaxing, it's fine, because mentally I was like, oh, I have a concussion, probably, oh well. But and a couple days later I was like, oh, I might have a concussion, something's wrong. I wasn't remembering certain words. I literally emailed someone the other day and I said, hey, I don't know what we talked about, but please let me know because I forget. Like, I could not remember conversations, I couldn't remember words, like, this video I'm a little bit struggling with words because I don't remember, like, some words don't come to me as easily. They said it's a mild concussion probably, and they didn't do any kind of testing. They just said, yep, you have a concussion, bye, basically. So, mentally it's just been a struggle. I can't use my computer very well because it has light, and it's like a combination of light and sound, so sound really bothers me too, because, it's in my ear and it's going, enter password, star, username, and it's like super loud, and I'm like, and I can turn it down, but like even the sound just irks me, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a break, so I haven't been on my computer for like a week and a half. My phone I can handle because I can put it on the dark mode so I can't see light from it, so I screen curtain where it blacks out the screen, so that's easy. It's better than what it used to be. I had really bad focusing a week and a half ago, but now I'm a little bit better. I can focus somewhat better, but I still get tired a lot. But they said it will pass. In 2 weeks they said it would pass, so we'll see. Anyway, so they're really nice. They talk to me like a person, and I appreciate that. So, as a blind person, I hate going to the hospital anyway because, one, I don't like people in my space. So, if I'm in the hospital, everyone's around you, and I hate that. I just want to, like, scream, except I can't because, it's a needed thing. Um, and I almost want to cry because I just don't like people in my space at all. And they're just, like, all around me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, people just, I need to breathe. I don't have, it's like I almost get claustrophobic. Um, and as a blind person, it's scary because you don't know what's around you, you don't know what they're doing, and if they don't tell you what they're doing, that's really scary. And if you're really out of it, like you're really sick or you're really unable to advocate for yourself, I've noticed that's when a lot more issues happen. Um, because if I'm relatively able to talk and able to focus on a conversation, I can be like, look, talk to me, not my parent, not my sighted person who may or may not be a stranger to me. Um, here's how to do this and this and this, and I can answer their questions. But if I'm sick, if I'm struggling to put a coherent conversation together, I'm not going to be sitting there doing that. I'm going to be like, oh, everything is just passing. It's a nice day outside. Oh, look, squirrel. So, it's difficult to get that balance of, hey, I need help, but also don't treat me like a child. Um, so, my advice is if you're relatively healthy, as far as you're able to coherently have a conversation and advocate for yourself, definitely do it. Because I've noticed a lot of people tend to speak for me when I'm in a hospital setting or a healthcare setting. They'll ask my mom or sister or whoever I'm with, friend, family member, random stranger sitting next to me in the waiting room. They'll say, hey, how is she? Or can you fill this out for her? And I'm like, no, that's your job. Like, they'll give me paperwork, and they'll be like, here, and I'm like, great, here you go, and I'll get back to them, and they'll be like, what? And I'll be like, I can't read this, so here you go. Um, and, I always make it a point, even when I go with someone else, I'm like, okay, look, like, they can fill it out, if not, here, you assist me to assist them, like, don't treat them like they can't do anything. Like, if someone can't speak, don't speak for them. Let them speak for themselves. Let them figure out a way to communicate, Um, So, my advice is to you as a disabled person, when you go to the anywhere healthcare related, make sure you bring your mobility device or whatever you need to remain independent. For me, I bring my phone because I can record things because I have been struggling with memory lately. So I bring my phone to record things. I bring my cane or guide dog depending on the situation. People were trying to talk me out of bringing my dog because they were like, oh no, it's the hospital, you shouldn't bring her. And I'm like, I'm bringing my dog, I want to be independent. Because a lot of times, people will put me in a wheelchair and they'll just like walk down to the next room, and I'm like, no, I can walk. Unless I can't walk, that's a different story. But if I can walk and I'm able to stand and walk well, let me walk. And it's stressful going as a disabled person to any kind of healthcare thing because, uh, you know, no offense to the healthcare world, but I can say this because I've been educated in the healthcare ways. We are taught to treat people like patients. So, like for me, as example, I'm an OTA, but I'm also a blind person, and so a lot of people treat me like a patient because I'm blind, and I'm like, no, I'm a coworker. I'm an OTA. Like, don't treat me like a patient. Um, so it's frustrating, and I get that. But you gotta keep your cool. You gotta calm down. You gotta be like, look, I can do this. Talk to me. Um, Try to advocate for yourself as much as possible, and definitely don't let them decide that you need, whatever kind of thing that you don't even need. Like they were like, oh, we can turn on the lights to make you see better. We can do this and this, and I'm like, no, like I don't need that. I know what I need. I'm 22 at this point. Just like chill. Um, and like that's another thing too is formatting of documents. So I recently had to go get some like mental health counseling type thing, and I had to fill out all this paperwork, and I called the company and I said, hey, I'm blind, so can you like email me this paperwork in an accessible format, and then I can print it out or email it back or whatever. And they said, well, no. And I was like, why? Like, you have it stored in a computer somewhere. It's printed out. Because, see, what they do is they give it to you in print. So they have to have a packet of information somewhere on a computer electronically. So it wouldn't be that hard. All they have to do is email it. And they were like, well, HIPAA. And I'm like, no, there is no HIPAA because I haven't given you anything. I haven't given you any information, like personal information. So just, like, it's a blank forms. Just send me the forms. It's not that hard. And so then I argued with these people for like an hour and a half, and it really irked me because I'm like, guys, honestly, if I didn't need this, I wouldn't do it. If I was just going to do it just because I needed something small or, you know, I wouldn't waste my time. What's the point? Like, I shouldn't have to argue for something accessible to get access to services. Like, it's not right. And the part that bothers me the most is they're just like, well, you can have a sighted person help you. And I'm like, no, not every disabled person has someone taking care of them. You know, that's not right. And also, privacy. I don't want my family members knowing that I need to go to mental health counseling. I don't want everybody knowing that. And, you know, I'm not just going to find a random stranger on the street and be like, hey, can you read me this? Here's what my answer is. You know, like, no, that's not right. And I don't think the healthcare world understands this, that this is an issue, that their expectations / assumptions of us as disabled people is fair, because it's totally not. And, you know, so like, honestly, I was in a really not so great place, and if I really wasn't desperate enough, I would have just said, okay, forget it. And then who knows what could have happened, because, you know, I was already in a dark place anyway. So, like, if you're in the healthcare field, take this stuff seriously, realize that people need access, and treat us like we're humans. Because it's not right that we have a disability, we can't help it, and you're saying, oh, well, you figured out. Like, no, it's not on us to figure out how to make things accessible. You should already have it made accessible in the first place. Like, it's not that hard. Especially whenever we tell you over and over and over, you can do this, you can do this, you can read this to me, you can, you know, you can make it in an accessible file format, you can make it downloadable on your website, you know, you can let me fill it out in private with another person, like a healthcare worker. You know, it shouldn't be that big of an issue. And, you know, so by the time I was done with that conversation with this person, I was like, mentally, I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I don't want to talk to these people, I don't want to deal with it. And, you know, the part that bothered me the most is they said, okay, we'll send it to you in the mail, it'll be in print, and then you figure out how to make it accessible. And at the time, I was like, fine, I'm done, whatever, just send it to me. Because I was tired of dealing with it. I'm like, guys, like, I don't want to admit that I need any kind of help with my mental health. But, like, people make it so much worse by assuming that I have someone there to help me, and, you know, assuming that it's my job to make it accessible. Like, okay, what if I was, like, super poor, which I'm not poor, I've got some money, but not a lot, and what if I didn't have the technology? I don't have the greatest stuff. I have my phone, and I have a scanner that it's a flatbed scanner, and you put the paper in it, it scans it, and reads it in a Word document. Which I did not buy myself, by the way, that was from the government vocational rehabilitation. So, if I didn't have that, or if I, you know, didn't know how to use any of that, what would I do? Because, you know, like, if I lived alone and I didn't have any friends, / what if I had mental health issues that wouldn't allow me to go out into public and make friends, you know, like, it would be awful. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't reach out. I wouldn't bother reaching out to anyone, healthcare wise, because what's the point? They treat you like a child, and they treat you like your disability is an inconvenience, a burden to them, so who cares? And unfortunately, that's like the big issue with a lot of people. They wonder why a lot of disabled people have depression or are isolated, or just give up, because, you know, it's like their society / healthcare is just like, oh well, you don't matter. Oh well, your concerns are not important enough for us to make it accessible. Like, who cares? And, I don't think that that's everyone's intent in the whole healthcare world, but whenever you have to fight for basic access to be treated like an adult, or for someone to even just tell you, introduce themselves, walk around and say, "Hi, I'm so and so. What's your name?" Like, that means a lot. Instead of them going, "Hi, I'm Doctor blah blah blah," and then they shake your sighted person's hand, or they come in and they say, "Hi, nurse blah blah blah," the other lady that's in there, "I'm so and so. Our patient today is blah blah blah, and they're here for," it's like, you just want to scream at them, like, "I'm a person, talk to me. I might not be able to talk back to you, but at least treat me like a human being." Um, and I just think that the healthcare world needs a lot more education on disability awareness, disability etiquette, because, in the medical world, everyone's taught that disabilities can be cured, they're an inconvenience, they're an issue, let's fix it. And that's not the case. No, like, I'm fine. I don't want to be sighted. That sounds awful. No offense to you sighted people, but that just sounds awful. Like, how do you do it? That would just, so much to see. Like, that would be a lot. So, like, they need education on how to deal with blind people, how to deal with people that are deaf, autistic, whatever. It's not something that can be cured, and we don't want to be cured. Like, I don't want to be cured. I'm fine being blind. Yeah, it sucks sometimes, but life sucks sometimes. I'm good. I'm fine. I mean, it would be nice to get a job and be successful in life, but as far as, I don't think my blindness is going to change anything, because I know people that are sighted that don't have a disability, that still don't have a job, and they're not, you know, um, they're struggling with life in general right now. So, it's not my blindness that's the big deal. I mean, yeah, it's caused some hurdles, but I'm not like, "Oh, cure my blindness, I need to see." Like, no, it's fine. I've adapted to it, I'm fine. Um, and, so I think that's the issue in the medical world. Everyone's taught to find the cure. Someone's has a disability, they're sick, they're unhealthy, fix them. And it's like, no. We're still people, we're still perfectly fine. We might have other issues, like anyone else. Our disability might complicate things. We might not be able to tell you exactly what's going on, or we might not be able to have the correct description of it verbally or physically, or maybe we can't really explain things in detail because we don't have the words. Like, maybe we're using a communication device and the communication device doesn't have the words that we need, or maybe people are nonverbal, they can't tell you, or other disabilities may impact the way that you see an injury or illness. But we're still people first, so treat us like we're people. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like rambling, but like, that's really important to me, and I really, really hope that whatever my future job is, like, I pray every night that I never ever become the person that treats everyone like I'm better than them. I don't want to be that person ever in my life. I don't care if I have to go to 30 different jobs to find that. Because I see that a lot in occupational therapy, is everyone's like, "Oh no, let's fix it, it's an issue." No, just leave it alone. Just figure out how to adapt to it. Teach the person, teach the environment, adapt the environment, adapt the person, whatever you have to do. But it's not wrong to have a disability. It's not an inconvenience to society. Like, we're people, so treat us like we're equal. It's not that big of a deal. So back to my whole thing about navigating the healthcare system as a patient. So definitely speak up if you're able to. If you're not, make sure if you can bring someone with you that knows you well and knows that you speak up and will explain what you need and how you need it. Definitely bring them along, because they need to know. Like my sister's very good about that. Like, if I'm in a difficult state where I can't really explain what I need, she'll be like, "Look, here's what she needs, blah blah, do this, do that." Because, if you're suffering from whatever kind of injury slash illness, whatever, you're not going to be at your best, and you're not going to be in the mood to argue with people. Um, and, it's already scary anyway. So just make sure that you advocate before you go, like figure out a way to teach people before you get sick, and then once you get sick, you're like, okay, when you're able to, you're like, look, here's what you did right, here's what you did wrong, fix this part, It's like they need some kind of training that goes over it, and it needs to be mandatory, and they need to show, the healthcare board needs to show that they understand, what everything means. They need to understand that, they need to show that they understand disability etiquette, and that they can treat people with respect, and humanity. Because a lot of people will be like, oh, what does she need? What, you go to a restaurant, what would she like to eat? And I'm like, well, she would like chicken and French fries. Like, it's not. I'm a person. Ask me. And also, if you're blind, if you're totally blind or you can't see enough to sign your name, I didn't come prepared to go to the hospital because I would just like grab stuff and go. So I didn't have my signature guide, and signature guide is basically just a flat piece of cardboard or plastic, and it has a little cutout in it, a little rectangular cutout, and that's where you sign your name. They put it over the signature area, and you write your name inside the little box. And it's really convenient, really nice. I didn't bring mine because, like, I'm bleeding all over the place. I want to go get this taken care of, and so I was explaining to the discharge nurse. I said, hey, you just signed my name with your initials to show that I gave you permission, and that's perfectly fine. It works, legally and otherwise. And they said, oh no, we need someone to sign it. And I said, well, I am signing it. I'm giving you permission to write my name with your initials, showing that I gave you permission as a person to write my name. And finally, she just gave it to my mom, and my mom was like, okay, I'll sign it, because at the time I was like, I'm so mad, but I can't do anything at this point. Like, I'm really kind of out of it. And so, I got so mad at my mom, because I'm like, no, like, you don't need to do that. That's basically proving my point that even if they're the closest people you are with, like your family or whatever, they're close to you, you can't always assume that they're going to do what you need or what you want, as far as disability-related things. Because my mom is my mom, and she's going to just, she's my mom, I'm not going to like bash her or anything, but, she doesn't understand fully what it's like to be disabled. So, like, I don't expect her to. It's not fair for me to expect her to, because she's not. But it frustrates me because at times people forget that, not that I'm not a person, because they totally understand that, but they forget that I have a disability and that this is very important. Like, something as simple as signing my name is very, very important to me, because that shows that I'm able to, sign my name and legally be responsible for my own self. And with someone taking that right away from me by having someone else sign my name, or doing it for me, even though I told them specifically not to, or even getting the choice taken away to even sign my name, like, I have a way to do my name that's not me writing it. Someone else can do it, and I tell them, write my name with your initials, that's my choice. And for someone to come in and take that choice away and sign my name anyway, and not put their initials, and for that someone to not be disabled and to do that just really bothers me. And I don't know what to do about that. It's just it's a difficult thing. But it does bother me to be not taken seriously in everything, like, for instance, people trying to help me cross the street. Sometimes I might need that, sometimes I might cross crookedly, I might end up on the wrong curb or whatever. But for someone to come up and take my arm and drag me across the street, or insist on helping me, even though I told them I'm fine, even if I don't cross correctly and end up at the wrong curb and they say, look, I told you, I'm like, okay, but give me the choice to say no. That's all I'm asking. I need the choice to be able to say, I'm going to do it my way. I appreciate you offering, but no, I'm fine. Like, leave me alone. I think that's part of the reason why I don't like healthcare in general. Is because, um, they don't know what it's like to be disabled. They don't know what it's like to have your choices taken away. And that's what scares me in the healthcare field, is they'll be like, oh, we're doing this for your own safety. And in reality, they're not concerned about, okay, let me rephrase that. So, like, okay, let's say I'm having, I don't know, I need to go to the bathroom, let's say, and I'm in, like, a hospital bed, and I need to go to the bathroom, so I ring the button, let's say, and they come in with a wheelchair, and they're like, the bathroom's over here, and I'm like, no, I just telling you I need to go, like, I can walk, and they're like, we're doing it for your safety. Yes, they might be, depending on my illness, but most of the time, that stories that I've heard and everything, they're doing it because they're concerned that as a blind person you can't navigate independently. And that really, really bothers me a lot, because they don't understand disability versus illness slash injury slash disease, I guess. They don't take into account that, yes, your disability may impact your illness slash injury slash disease, but, like, you were fine before that. You could walk independently, you could do all this. So ask us. Just be like, hey, do you feel up to walking? Do you feel able to do whatever? Like, we can talk. Ask us. Don't ask our caregivers, or random stranger that was sitting next to us, or random driver that was driving us places. Like, no, just ask us. We're people. So, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I keep rambling on. But basically, the summary of this video is to self-advocate. Try to do as much as you can, however you can, in any way possible. And if you can't, try to bring someone who may or may hopefully understand how to help you advocate for yourself, and will treat you like a human. And if you're a healthcare worker, just ask us. Just be like, hey, like, even if you don't want to ask people in person, post on social media. Be like, hey, what do you think we should do? There are a bunch of classes, a bunch of workshops, trainings being held by disability organizations across the United States / world, and you could just ask them. Be like, you post in the groups, post in the comments on Zoom, like they have Zoom meetings and stuff. Just be like, hey, what can we do to help the disabled population who are coming into our hospital / healthcare clinic for treatment? What can we do to help? What can we do to make it more accessible? I mean, I, for one, would love it if someone would ask me that. I really, really hate the fact that I have to always be the one to bring it up. People get all defensive, and, if someone would just come up to me and say, hey, how can I fix this? I would be like, thank you. I really, really appreciate you asking me that. Because it's stressful sometimes, being the only one to bring it up, and they don't really care half the time. They're just like, they'll be like, okay, and they'll just smile and move on. They'll forget that you even showed up to talk to them. So yeah. So anyway, thank you all for watching this video. I'm gonna make another one shortly about different things that sighted people thought that I knew as a blind person. So I'm really excited for that one. That one will be cool. But I make this video because I wanted to explain some things, and I really hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, you can comment in the comments, and I'll respond. And thank you all for watching.